Hi guys, thank you for watching. Thank you for coming onto my channel. If you have not done so, if you've been to my channel a few times, or if this message encourages you, I want to encourage you to go ahead and to like, to share, to subscribe to my channel. I have an interesting playlist, so feel free to take a look at my playlist. I don't know from your side if it just shows my playlist is shown when you come to my page. If not, just hit the playlist tab and then you will see everything that I have categorized, and for you to be able to pick and choose what you'd like to see or binge watch. All right, so what I want to talk to you all about briefly is about recognizing when your season has changed, recognizing when it's time for you to move on. I find a lot of times, whether it's in churches or relationships, whatever it may be, friendships, relationships, whether it's platonic or whatever, a lot of times people don't recognize when it's time to move on. It's time to move ahead. Now, I'm not sitting here talking about, telling you to divorce a person or anything like that. You just may be in a relationship that's just not working out. You are maybe dating, whatever it may be. But what I'm talking about here is just the overall, all the variables and the different categories of relationships. Sometimes you have to know when it's time to move on. There are certain things that you will see that will let you know it's time to go. A lot of times as believers, sometimes we overthink and we complicate the obvious. We complicate different things. I'm going to give you an example of Jacob in the Bible. When Jacob went to his uncle's house, after he tricked his brother Esau, he left, tricked him out of his birthright, right? Tricked his dad and everything, and he went to his uncle. He stayed at Uncle Laban or Laban, however they pronounced it, and he left and he went there, and he had favor with his uncle for some time. Of course, his uncle tricked him, right? Because he worked 7 years for Rachel. Then his uncle gave him Leah, and then he had to work another 7 years to get Rachel. And so he did that. And one of the things that began to occur was Jacob was being blessed by God. He was being blessed by God. Everything he did, he was being blessed by it. And Laban, his uncle, was happy with him, right? But once he started to see that Jacob was being blessed and seeing how well he was doing, and I believe there's a story in the Bible about the flock that Jacob had that was flourishing more and he was increasing more, that the Bible talks about that when Jacob looked at his uncle and saw that the countenance of his uncle had changed. He could see that he no longer had the favor of his uncle. And what Jacob did that night was get his family, got his wives, got his cattle, got all that belonged to him, and moved. And he moved. Of course, his uncle came after him wondering, why did you leave? But here's the bottom line that I'm trying to make here is sometimes you have to pay attention to the countenance of those around you. Sometimes you have to pay attention to the obvious things around you. Sometimes there are relationships that worked at the time. There are friendships that was good for that season. There is fellowship, places that you went to that worked and it was going for a season and everything was great. But as time goes on, you will see that the countenance, the heart of that person has now been changed towards you, and you start to see it. You see, with Jacob, when he moved to his uncle, there were little signs from the beginning, from the very first, from the time he went there and his uncle tricked him. You see, that was one red flag. But Jacob stayed because he wanted Rachel, and he stayed there. You understand? And he worked for her and worked to get her, worked for his uncle in order to get that relationship. And he did that. All right. But then other things started to happen here, where there's a story around Jacob and his uncle with a flock. And I think there was something about which one was more, what is speckled and what is not. It was just something, in a nutshell, the favor of God was upon Jacob's life, and he was prospering, and his uncle had an issue with it, and he could see that now his countenance has changed. So guys, sometimes you're going to see little indications, sometimes in relationships, in friendships, in ministries that you're in, little things that you see, go, wait a minute. You understand? And when maybe you continue to work just like Jacob did, and then you see something else. And sometimes you're going to look upon the face of that leader or that person that you're working with or that individual that you're in a friendship with, and you realize that the countenance have changed. Your face has changed. It's not necessarily saying just to look at their face. You see, what manifested on the face of Jacob's uncle was the condition of his heart. And God is going to allow you to see that. You're going to see that not only through their word, not only by the condition of their heart is not just going to show necessarily by, you see, a manifestation. That is what Jacob got. So he saw what was in his heart, what was in his uncle's heart manifested on his face. But then, guys, you're also going to you're going to see the condition of someone's heart towards you by their actions. The word, we always hear this thing, action speaks louder than words. It is true. Learn when your season is over. Learn when your season in a friendship is over. There are some friendships that are for life, and there's some friendships that is for a season. There's some people that come in your life for right now, and there's some people, some ministries that you're in, it was for that time. And one of the things that you are going to know, guys, there's so many people that sit in churches, moving a little bit here in ministries. Your season is over. You're no longer connected to the vine in that church because they already snipped you off, or they're not. And even if you're staying around, you trying to plug yourself into the vine, trying to get some nourishment, and you're drying up. You are not getting all that you need because this is not where you're supposed to be anymore. Sometimes I know nothing about gardening really, but I've seen it. Okay, I've seen it on TV, right? So you see people, they can take a seed and plant it, and they put it in a little pot. And the pot is small. It's perfect for that seed at that time. And you water it and whatever, and it grows. And then what you have to do sometimes now is take that seed, or take that whatever has grown, right? And then you got to now plant it in a bigger space, because the roots and everything is growing at the bottom, and it cannot expand, and it cannot grow like it should. The roots are restricted in this container. And so guess what? It's taking up all this space and it's scrunched, and it's pushing against that pottery. You have to root it up and plant it perhaps in a field, a bigger setting where those roots can go deeper, spread further, into the soil, and that tree or whatever it is that you have planted can shoot up to where it needs to be. But there's a lot of people that you're staying in environments because you're familiar with it, because you're afraid, and really because you don't have a relationship with God. You don't have a personal relationship with Jesus Christ to be able to hear him and to be able to see what he is showing you. Guys, know when it's time to move and when it's time to go. I'm not telling you to be some gypsy just jumping from church to church, but you have to understand in today's times, you are not going to find those churches that you think that used to be just almost a lot of really good churches back in the days. Like, they serious about God. They hold you to the standard of holiness and righteousness. Oh, no. That's not it here. Okay. But my video today, just getting back in, is just listen, recognize when your season is over. Recognize when your season in friendships are over. Sometimes people going to show you, some people that you thought were your friend, they're not your friend. Stop listening to them always giving you an apology. Oh, girl, I was busy. Oh, man. Oh, I forgot. No. They don't forget what's important to them. They don't see you that way. Pay attention to the actions of people. Their consistent action, okay? Not something that they do, it's the mistake. When people are consistently inconsistent, consistently inconsiderate, believe them. Move forward, guys. Recognize when your season is up. When your season is up, it don't mean that you're up. It's time for you to expand and to get to the place that God needs you to be. You cannot be restricted. All right, guys, hope you understand this video. Don't forget to like, share, and to subscribe. I will have an email link here also if you have questions and comment. Respectful questions. Well, respectful comments. I don't respond to nonsense, okay? All right, guys, have a wonderful day.